1 Chronicles 11. All of Israel gathered together to David in Hebron, saying, Behold, we are your bone and your flesh. Even yesterday and before yesterday, even when Saul was king, you were the one who led Israel out and led them in. And Hashem, your God, has said of you, You shall shepherd my people Israel, and you shall be ruler over my people Israel. All the elders of Israel came to the king at Hebron, and David sealed a covenant with them in Hebron before Hashem. They anointed David as king of Israel in accordance with the word of Hashem through Samuel. David and all of Israel went to Jerusalem, which is Jebus. The Jebusite, the inhabitants of the land, were there. The inhabitants of Jebus told David, You shall not enter here. But David captured the Zion fortress, which is the city of David. David declares, Whoever strikes the Jebusite first will become a chief and an officer. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was the first to go up, and he became a chief. David settled in the fortress. Therefore they called it the city of David. He built up the city all around, from the Millo to the surrounding wall, while Joab restored the rest of the city. David grew continuously greater, and Hashem, master of legions, was with him. These are the chief warriors of David, who strove for him in his kingship, along with all of Israel, to crown him in accordance with the word of Hashem concerning Israel. This is the tally of David's warriors. The one who sat in the assembly, a sagacious man, the head of the captains. He wielded his spear over 300 slain men at one time. After him was Eleazar, son of Dodo the Ahohite. He was among the 3 mighty men. One who was with David in Pasdamim, where the Philistines had gathered for battle. There was a portion in the field full of barley, and the people had fled from before the Philistines. They stood in the middle of the portion and saved it, and smote the Philistines. And Hashem caused a great salvation. Once 3 men, who were officers over the 30 chiefs, went down to the crag to David, to the cave of Adullam, and the Philistine camp was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. David was then in the stronghold at that time, and there was a Philistine garrison in Bethlehem. David had a craving and said, If only someone could give me water to drink from the well of Bethlehem, which is in the city gate. So the 3 broke into the camp of the Philistines and drew water from the well of Bethlehem, which is at the gate. And they carried it and brought it to David. But David refused to drink it, and he poured it out to Hashem. He said, Far be it from me before my God to do this. Shall I drink what is tantamount to the blood of these men by their lives? For they risked their lives to bring it. And he refused to drink it. These are what the 3 mighty men did. Abishai, Joab's brother, he was the head of the 3. He wielded his spear over 300 slain men. He was well known among the 3. Of the 3, he was more honored than the other 2, and he became their leader. But he did not compare to the first 3. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a valiant man of many achievements, from Kabzeel. He struck down the 2 commanders of Moab, and he also went down and slew a lion in the middle of a well on a snowy day. He also struck down the Egyptian man, a man of imposing size, 5 cubits tall. The Egyptian had a spear as thick as a weaver's beam. He came down upon him with a stick, stole the spear out from the hand of the Egyptian, and killed him with his own spear. These are the things that Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, did. He was well known among the 3 mighty men. He was more honored than the 30, but he did not compare to the first 3. And David set him as his confidant. The mighty warriors, Joab's brother Asahel, Elhanan, son of Dodo of Bethlehem, Shamoth the Hararite, Helez the Pelonite, Ira, son of Ikesh the Tekoite, Abiezer the Anathothite, Sibekai the Hushathite, Eli the Ahohite, Mahurai the Netaphathite, Eled, son of Bana the Netaphathite, Ithai, son of Ribai, from Gibeah of the children of Benjamin, Benaiah the Pirathonite, Hittai from Nahalai Gaesh, Abiel the Arbathite, Asmaveth the Bahurimite, Eliaba the Shalbonite, the sons of Hashem the Gizonite, Jonathan son of Sage the Harite, Ahiham son of Sakar the Harahite, Eliphaz son of Hefer the Macherathite, Ahijah the Pelonite, Pezro the Carmelite, Narai son of Ezbai, Joel brother of Nethan, Mibar son of Hagri, Selach the Ammonite, Naharai the Berothite, who was Joab son of Zeruiah's armor-bearer, Ira the Ithrite, Gareb the Ithrite, Uriah the Hittite, Sabad son of Alai, Adina son of Shiza the Reubenite, the head of the Reubenites, and with him 30 men, Hanan son of Makkah, Joshaphat the Mithanite, Uzziah the Ashtorethite, Shammah and Jael, the sons of Hotham the Ararite, Jethiel son of Shimri, Joah's brother the Tizite, Eliel of the Mahavites, Jeribai and Joshaviah, the sons of Elnam, Isma the Moabite, Eliel, Obed, and Jasiel the Mesobite. 1 Chronicles 12. These are the men who came to David at Ziklag, while he was still in hiding from Saul, son of Kish. They were among the mighty men who helped in war, armed with bows, both right-handed and left-handed in slinging stones or shooting arrows with the bow, of the kinsmen of Saul, from Benjamin. The chief was Ahiezer and Joash, the sons of Shema the Gibeathite, Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth, Barakah, Jehu the Anathothite, Ishmaiah the Gibeonite, who was like one of the 30 mighty men, and even superior to the 30 men, Jeremiah, Jahaziel, Johanan, Josabad, Elusai, Jeremoth, Beeliah, Shemariah, Shephatiah the Haruphite, Elkanah, Ishiah, Azarel, Joeser, and Jashobeam, the Korahites, Joelah and Zebediah, the sons of Jeroham of Gedud. Some men of the Gadites defected to David, to the stronghold in the wilderness, mighty warriors, soldiers, who wielded shields and bucklers. Their faces were like the face of a lion, and they were fleet as deer on the mountains. Ezer, the head, Obadiah the second, Eliab the third, Mishmannah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Belsabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, Mashbanai the 11th. These were the heads of the army from the children of Gad. The least was equal to 100 men, and the greatest to 1,000 men. These are the ones who crossed the Jordan during the first month, when it was overflowing all of its banks, and they chased away all the residents of the valleys, to the east and to the west. Some of the children of Benjamin and Judah came to David's stronghold. David came out before them and spoke up, saying to them, "If you have come to me in peace to assist me, then my will is to unite with you. But if you have come to trick me for my enemies, though there is no injustice on my part, may the God of our fathers see it and pass judgment." A spirit then garbed Amasai, the head of the captains. "We are yours, David, and we are with you, son of Jesse. Peace, peace unto you, and peace unto those who assist you, for your God assists you." David accepted them and made them heads of troops. Also, some people of Manasseh fell in with David when he accompanied the Philistines to battle against Saul. But he did not help the Philistines, for the Philistine governors advised to send him away, saying, "With our heads he will fall in with his master Saul." When he went to Ziklag, people of Manasseh defected to him: Adnah, Josabed, Jethiel, Mishael, Josabed, Elihu, and Zilethai, who were captains of thousands from Manasseh. They helped David against the troop, for they were all mighty warriors, and they became officers in the army. For constantly, day after day, people came to David to assist him, until there was a large camp, like a camp of God. This is the count of the leaders of those mobilized for the army, who came to David at Hebron to transfer Saul's kingship over to him, in accordance with the word of Hashem. The children of Judah, bearers of shields and spears, 6,800 mobilized for the army. Of the children of Simeon, 7,100 mighty warriors for the army. Of the children of Levi, 4,600. And Jehoiada, the leader of Aaron's descendants, and with him 3,700. And Zadok, a young man who was a mighty warrior, with 22 officers of his father's family. Of the children of Benjamin, Saul's kinsmen, 3,000 men, most of whom had been maintaining their loyalty to the house of Saul. Of the children of Ephraim, 20,800 mighty warriors, men of renown in their families. Of half the tribe of Manasseh, 18,000 men who had been designated by name to come and crown David king. Of the children of Issachar, men with understanding for the times, to know what Israel should do, 200 chiefs, with all their kinsmen following their counsel. Of Zebulun, 50,000 men going out in the army, who deployed themselves for war with all kinds of weapons of war, who arrayed themselves without hesitancy. Of Naphtali, 1,000 officers, and with them 37,000 men of shields and spears. Of the Danites, 28,600 men who deployed themselves for war. Of Asher, 40,000 men who went out to the army to deploy themselves for war. From the other side of the Jordan, of the Reubenite, the Gadite, and half the tribe of Manasseh, 120,000 men with all the weapons of a fighting army. All of these were men of war, who were arrayed in formation. They came to Hebron wholeheartedly to crown David king over all of Israel. Furthermore, all the remainder of Israel had a united heart to crown David king. They stayed there with David for 3 days, eating and drinking, for their kinsmen had prepared for them. Furthermore, those close to them, up to Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali, brought provisions by donkey, by camel, by mule, and by ox. Food of flour, dried figs, raisins, wine, oil, and much cattle and sheep, for there was joy in Israel. 1 Chronicles 13. David consulted with the officers of thousands and of hundreds, with every leader. David said to the entire congregation of Israel, "If it seems good to you and to Hashem, our God, let us send out far and wide, to our remaining brethren in all the lands of Israel, and with them to the Kohanim and Levites in their cities, surrounded by their open areas. And let them gather together to us, and let us transfer the ark of our God to us, for we did not seek it out in the days of Saul." The entire congregation said to do so, for the matter met with the approval of the entire people. David gathered all of Israel, from the Shishor River of Egypt to the approach of Hamath, to bring the ark of God from Kiriath Jearim. David and all of Israel went up to Baalah, to Kiriath Jearim of Judah, to bring up from there the ark of God, Hashem, who is enthroned upon the cherubim, which is called by his name. They placed the ark of God upon a new wagon from the house of Abinadab. Uzzah and Ahio guided the wagon. David and all of Israel were rejoicing before God with all their might, with songs and with harps, lyres, drums, cymbals, and trumpets. They came to the threshing floor of Chidon, and Uzzah sent out his hand to grasp the ark, for the oxen had dislodged it. Hashem became angry at Uzzah, and he struck him for sending out his hand to the ark, and he died there before God. David was upset with himself because Hashem had inflicted a breach against Uzzah, and he called that place Perez Uzzah, the breach of Uzzah, which is its name to this day. David feared God on that day, saying, "How can I bring the ark of God to myself?" So David did not move the ark to himself to the city of David, and he diverted it to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The ark of God remained at the house of Obed-Edom, in his house, for 3 months. And Hashem blessed Obed-Edom's household and all that was his. 1 Chronicles 14. Huram, the king of Tyre, sent a delegation to David with cedarwood, wall artisans and carpenters, to build him a palace. David realized that Hashem had established him as king over Israel, for his kingdom was greatly exalted, for the sake of his people Israel. David married additional wives in Jerusalem after he came there from Hebron. And David begot more sons and daughters. These are the names of those born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibar, Elishua, Elpelet, Noga, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Biliada, and Eliphelet. The Philistines heard that David had been anointed as king of Israel. So all the Philistines came up to seek out David. David heard, and he went out before them. The Philistines came and spread out in the valley of Rephaim. David inquired of God, saying, "Shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hands?" And Hashem answered David, "Go up, and I shall deliver them into your hands." They came up to the plain of Perazim, and David struck them there. David said, "God has broken down my enemies through my hand, as water breaches a barrier." Therefore that place is called the plain of Perazim. The Philistines had left their gods behind there. David gave the command, and they were burned in fire. The Philistines once again spread out in the valley. David inquired of God again, and God said to him, "Do not go up after them, but circle around from them, and approach them from opposite the mulberry trees. And it shall be that when you hear a sound of marching at the top of the mulberry trees, then you shall go out to do battle, for Hashem will have gone out before you to strike at the Philistine camp." David did as God had commanded him, and he struck the Philistine camp from Gibeon until the approach of Gether. David's fame spread throughout all the lands, and Hashem placed his fear upon all the nations.